Good morning, Paddy. Thank you for jumping on the call with us. I really appreciate you taking time out your day to just to do a little bit of an interview around the professional doctorate and your journey, really. So yeah, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much, Liam. No, happy to be here. Happy to help.
Good, good, good. So just to start off, Paddy, do you want to tell us a little bit around your career to date? I know you've moved around a few places, so it'd be really interesting just to get a bit of background about yourself, really.
Yeah, for sure. I'll try and keep it somewhat brief for you. Went to University of Birmingham from a. Sorry, no, I didn't. Let's start that again, Liam. I went to University of Bath from undergrad. Did a placement there with Bath Rugby, and just ended up staying there. I spent 12 years working in professional rugby, mostly strength and conditioning type roles. From there, I wanted to do something different, so moved out to the US, worked in a training center dealing with NFL, baseball, and a bit of NBA stuff. Did that for a couple of years. Then got a job in Australia working in Aussie rules, and then after 3 years there, I'm back in the US now, working in basketball.
Oh, very nice. And what moment in your career there, Paddy, did you sort of realize that you wanted to study for a professional doctorate?
Yeah, it was a real gradual thing for me. I'd sort of always known that doctoral study was an option, but it wasn't really like something that I definitely thought I would do. I'd really looked up to quite a lot of different practitioners in my career, and I realised that a lot of the people that I thought were really good and admired did have doctoral level education. I liked the way they thought about stuff and how they saw their profession, and I guess I'd kind of noticed that they'd all, or at least a lot of them, had done that. But yeah, I still wasn't really convinced that doctoral study was for me. I think a few things kind of came together to make me realise it was a good route. I did a master's, and I think although after the masters I thought I was done with academia, I just kind of kept reading and kept seeing research as a really like important way of informing what I was doing in my practice. And I think that sort of over time gradually led me to think, do you know what, a doctorate is probably a good option for me. And I think alongside that, I was also like a lot of people, really looking to progress my career, looking to sort of make myself better as a practitioner. Although I thought things would change, I kind of stayed really passionate about training athletes, about working in high performance sport, and just sort of like naturally wanted to know more. I think there was that aspect of it. And then I was involved in a couple of small studies. I just got a lot out of it, and the people I was working with just did develop me. And so I thought, do you know what, this a doctorate of some kind is going to be a really useful thing for me. That's a direction I really should look into more. And as I looked into it more and started speaking to people like Barry and even people at other institutions, I sort of thought this is a really good thing for me. So yeah, I mean, I was north of 35 and I decided to do it, but it just seemed to fit, and I'm really glad I did.
No, that's brilliant, brilliant. And I guess you mentioned a little bit around how different areas you work developed you there with being involved in other research, and now you're in year four of your prof doc, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So you're in year four of your prof doc now, and you've obviously done all of your studies. And so how has your professional doctorate really changed the way that you work and developed yourself?
Yeah, like, I'm sure it's a really personal thing, but for me, it's been like genuinely developmental. I guess I didn't really know what to expect. I knew I'd learn a lot. At the start of it, I probably thought what I'd learn would mostly be like facts and more research, and I'd probably get better in those areas. But I think the biggest change it's had on me is in terms of thinking skills. I kind of weirdly find myself able to break stuff down a lot better. I think I can see the bigger picture more. Um, I've had exposure to quite a lot of different things in the studies I've done, and I think they've really helped me kind of take different perspectives and break problems down well. So I think also when you start doing a doctorate and you start going into something deep, you inevitably meet people that have done similar and want to speak to you about it. So I've also really benefited from the people that I've kind of come across, interacted with, and worked with. So like that's been great, just to pick brains of like genuine experts and be on calls with people that are really, really good at what they do. So that's for sure helped me to see that up close. And then the other thing that's been interesting is like once you start doing a doctorate and people realize you're looking at something at that level, I think sort of start to see your process a bit differently. So I think I've got a lot out of it. And I also feel at times people have probably regarded me a bit differently because of the level I'm looking into stuff. So compared to my master's, where it was, obviously useful insight, I think this has taken it to a whole different level.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. And I guess, like, you've obviously looked into doctorate study quite a bit before you actually went onto it. So, what made you choose a prof doc over a traditional or PhD?
Yeah, again, like I'm sure, like a lot of people, I was no expert in it, and I was open to either route. Like I've, as I realised that this was something for me, you start to develop a lot of respect for what a PhD entails, and that's what I thought I would probably do. But as I looked into the prof doc, I thought that the way it was practically informed was really relevant to like the direction I wanted to go in my career. I knew I wanted to stay in performance sports. I felt like being able to do something which was driven from practice and my day to day would be really relevant. So there was that aspect of it. And I also thought that the like fact it was based in sport and there was a lot of flexibility with the studies meant it was something that I could do around my work. And I was probably more confident that I'd have a better chance of getting a prof doc done than a PhD done. Yeah, so I thought it was a good fit. I thought also the personal development aspect of it was really relevant to what I wanted to do. Like I was somewhat interested in having something published, but I didn't think that was hugely important. I thought that was definitely secondary to like what I was going to get out of it. So yeah, for me, the prof doc just seemed like a great fit. And the more I talked to people about the courses and how they would fit, the more that seemed like the right option.
No, that's really good. And a little earlier, you mentioned Barry's name when you were speaking to a few other institutions and stuff like that. So obviously, you never really had any affiliation to the University of Birmingham before you came there. But why the University of Birmingham, really?
Yeah, so I spoke to Barry probably a fair bit in the year before I decided to do it, and I just thought the way Barry talks about the program, the skills Barry had, and the kind of the way in which he sort of explained what development was just really resonated with me. And so getting to know Barry, I was pretty sure that I wanted to work with him, and obviously he was at the University of Birmingham, so that was part of the choice. I've also thought Birmingham was good in that it's a really like high-end university. I'd looked around it as an undergrad. I was really impressed with it then. And although a lot of years have passed, I still felt the same about it. It's a quality institution. I've been based out of the UK for most of my study, but whenever I have been to campus, it's been really good. And not only that, the people I've met when I've been there, and also like the people that Barry's linked me to on calls, have been really, really like high-end researchers, really good thinkers. So that aspect of the University of Birmingham's been great as well.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. It's really good, nice to hear. I guess you're coming to the end of your prof doc now. Like, what do you think's next for you? What is it? You've mentioned a little bit what it's given you and the skill set it's given you. Like, what's next?
Yeah, I guess I'm like right in the sort of final writing up stage, so I haven't put too much effort into like exactly what's next. Without wanting to repeat myself, I think it's definitely given me more clarity on what would work for me in terms of like future roles. It's definitely given me more clarity on like what interests me, and it's probably given me more confidence to like, feel like I can deal with problems and I can improve my skill set, and I could handle a bigger role. Yeah, I don't know what the role is, and I think one of the things about working in professional sport is it's a really fast-moving industry where it's really hard to predict what comes up. So yeah, I don't have a specific job in mind. Like I'm excited about a lot of the projects where I am at the moment, and I guess understanding the instability in the world as I look to the kind of future. Yeah, I think the prof doc's given me a lot of clarity, but like just you know what, in this industry, like who knows what that will exactly be.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Thanks, Paddy. And I guess you mentioned with you're enjoying your role at the moment. Just for anyone who watches this, do you want to explain that role at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm a strength and conditioning coach in the NBA with the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, it's a really interesting role. It's great in that basketball players that get to this level are some of the finest athletes I've ever seen. Some genuine physical freaks, which is cool to be part of. I think it's really interesting too because it's a hugely demanding season. They play 82 games in the regular season, so it really kind of changes how you think about periodization. It changes how you think about recovery, and with the ridiculous flight schedule, it also changes it has changed how I think about freshness and like preparation for games. These guys are never ever optimal, so it's always like making the best of a bad situation, or at least accepting that that's what it is and how you're going to deal with it. So yeah, before this, I predominantly worked in sports, rugby and Australian rules, where there's a weekly fixture, and you might get a 4 or 5 day turnaround in the extreme cases. But yeah, this can be back to back with a flight in the middle. So yeah, it's cool to like see those different constraints, really see what that does to athletes, and try your best to kind of optimize that.
No, that's brilliant. And if there's any advice you can give for either someone just starting the prof doc or thinking about coming on the prof doc, what would it be, Paddy?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me has been like almost like trusting your tutors, really. So like for me, like Barry's been through this process so many times that just stay in communication with him, keep getting the work done, and kind of like don't worry too much. If like there's no need to create any stress where there is none. I definitely think people were thinking they needed to do more, or they were doing too much. But yeah, communication's massive, I think, with your tutor. Not really worried. Like what I was trying to say on that first point really was like your career's going to change a lot. Like I've moved around, I've worked in 2 different continents over the course of this, and obviously how I've had to go about the prof docs change, but there's like ways around it. There's ways you can scale it, you can change the time scale over it, your studies can be altered slightly. There's like lots that can be done, and I think some people on my course definitely took a while to get used to like the stress of that, and they were making it a problem when it wasn't. So yeah, I think just keeping like a flexible mindset approach, and then also yeah, like it's a learning process. Like it's not supposed to be perfect. I think at the start for me, because it was doctoral study and like the highest level of academia I'd been in, I wanted everything to be brilliant. And although that's a really good way to see it, like it's a learning tool that's designed to make you better and help your process. So like, get it done. If you've got 40 minutes because you've got training camp on that week, well then you've got 40 minutes. That's how I think it works. Like some of the stuff I've handed in, I've been able to put loads of time into, and I'm really happy with it. Other stuff, just that I had an hour, so that's what they got. And I think that's how you have to view it. It's not separate to your professional journey. It's part of it, and like it's for you. So use what time you've got, and don't worry too much more than that.
No, that's brilliant. I think you hit the nail on the head there, where it's not separate to your professional journey. It is actually part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I mean, and at the start for me, they did feel quite separate. But as time's gone on and you start to develop some skills, you really see how they overlap, and your practice should be informing your research, and vice versa. So yeah, I think it's really important that you do see that link as early as you can.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant, Paddy. Thank you very much for coming onto the call. And I guess you're gonna go get to the draft players now, right?
Yeah, I got the guys coming in for the first day today, so we'll see what we've spent our money on.
I like it. I like it. Well, I really appreciate that your time, Paddy. Thank you very much for your help.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks, Liam.
Thank you.